Hello. All right. Hello, Whiskey Madness 2023. Good evening, or afternoon, or whatever time you're watching this. I thought I would get a little kind of quick video out, just kind of explaining a little bit about what you got, talk a little bit about Whiskey Madness, kind of get some stuff going. Really excited for Whiskey Madness this year. We did this last year. There was a group of about 10 to 12 of us last year. This year it's gotten bigger. There's almost 30 people in this. This is awesome. I love it. I, as most of you guys know, definitely love drinking whiskey, enjoy talking about whiskey, and have become a hobbyist around whiskey. And so that's really what prompted some of this. I've gone through some ups and downs on what I was drinking, tried to learn a lot, and spent a lot more than I probably should have. But at the meantime, I got to drink a bunch of whiskeys, some much better than others. There's really no such thing as a bad whiskey. There's whiskeys that you may not like, but someone else may really like them. And so that's really kind of what started driving this last year. Was I was drinking different whiskeys and going out to stores and finding new whiskey. I realized that some I really liked, some I didn't. Some others really liked that I didn't, and vice versa. And so I thought, what better way to try to continue to work through whiskey and learn more about whiskey than finding different ones, doing some tastings, comparisons with them, and then ultimately trying to figure out what one do I like the best? Is there one I really like more than another? Is there one I should always have at the house? And I, as some of you know, have a few different bottles at the house. But you know, I try to expand what do I drink, and that's kind of what led us into this. And so last year we did a similar style deal where there was different whiskeys, 16 of them, did a lot more head to head, did blind, did it in a very short span, and it was fun, but maybe a little challenging, maybe not as much as I would have liked. And so here we are today. So this year I thought to do a little bit differently. I wanted to get a little bit more types of whiskeys out there, not make it just bourbon or rye whiskey, just kind of get some other ones in there. Have a range from really low end bottles to kind of decent sized bottles, you know. And so this year it's a wide range of different types, and I hope it's fun for all of you, and I hope that you guys enjoy, and thanks for participating. And so this year you all have just about received, or should have received, a box. This box has 24 different little sample bottles of whiskeys, plus this bottle. This is really important. This is not White Dog or White Lightning or whatever you want to call it. This actually is water. What's really cool about this is limestone water. And if you ever get a chance to go to Kentucky, they're going to talk all about limestone water and why it's important and why that matters for bourbon and whiskey in general, but why Kentucky is really good. The limestone is their kind of key to things. So anyway, so I thought it was kind of cool that send a little bit of this water out there. Water is a topic we can get into, but it definitely can help open up whiskeys. So if you think about whiskeys that are proof down, they proof down with water. So we'll talk more about that. But anyway, so with inside of the box, you're going to get these sample bottles. They're going to say bourbon group 1, A, B, or C, or 100 proof whiskey, A, B, or C. And so the A, B, and C determines it's one of the bourbons or whiskeys within inside of that grouping. All groupings are done to be very similar in stature, whether that be proofing, maybe even cost or finishing or whatever that case is. And so they're all kind of grouped together to give you an idea of some differences that you're going to find within inside of the different whiskey groups. Ultimately hoping you get a good idea for what your palate is, and if you're wanting to get into whiskey, or you're already into whiskey, maybe you'll find a new one, or maybe you'll find one that you can always have at the house. And hey, listen, whiskey's meant to be shared. Whiskey's meant to be drank. Yes, I collect some, and yes, I have some that I won't open right away, but ultimately I think every bottle of whiskey was meant to be enjoyed. And whiskey's a great liqueur or spirit. So anyway, we're gonna talk a little bit about that. But so first and foremost, I wanted to do these based on groupings that I felt were kind of cool and important for just different ways to drink and different things to drink. And so I'm going to talk about group 1 today. So if you go in there, you'll see group 1, A, B, and C. There is, with inside of the group me, you'll know what bourbons or whiskeys are with inside of a group. But the idea behind it being 1A, B, or C is it's a blind tasting, and so you won't know what's in that bottle. But the idea is to drink it, taste it, understand if you like it or don't like it, compare it to the other ones in there, because they all should be similar. But you may find one you really enjoy more than the others. And, you know, when we get through the first set of these, I will go ahead and post, you know, what one was what. Make some notes, think about it afterwards, and kind of get an idea of what one you liked. You may vote for one, and the group may not like that one the most, but you may go, wow, I really like that one. Now I know that was whiskey, whatever that was. And so group 1 is what I would consider a more traditional, not bottom shelf, and I hate the term bottom shelf, but you know, kind of sub 20-25 range. These are much more in the 30-35 range, but they're what I would consider a daily bourbon or something that I could go to often. And I can drink it in any way. I can drink it neat. I can put it on the rocks. I can put a little splash of water in there, or I can make a great old fashioned with it as well. And so that's what group 1 is all about. In group 1, we have 3 of my favorite brands or distilleries in the market: Four Roses, Smoke Wagon, and Russell's from Wild Turkey. And so I do have these kind of set out, so I know which ones are what, but just to give you kind of an idea, I always enjoy drinking out of Glencairn glasses. These are just a little bit more than 1.5 ounce sample. You definitely don't need to pour the entire thing to get a good tasting out of it, but I mean, it's Friday night, why not, right? So, drinking whiskey has its own uniqueness to it. You know, I think a lot of times people get a whiskey and Coke at the bar, or, you know, however they want to drink it, or they see the next person to them wanting to drink neat, and so they want to do that. And so, you know, you see people doing this, they're just not trying to look cool. There is an idea that you want to get a little bit of smell, you want to get a good idea of what it is you're about to drink. Don't keep your mouth closed and don't just super inhale it through your nose. You'll get nothing but ethanol and it won't taste good. As you smell some, what you'll realize is that you're going to start to get some flavors from that. And then you're going to be able to go smell that again and maybe see something different. And so for me, again, these are some of my favorite distilleries. Four Roses doesn't make a lot of different types. They have 4 different bottles that are on the market from a consistent basis. And then they also offer kind of a couple unique bottles that we can talk about at some point. But the small batch is something that has a blend of a couple of their different recipes. It's really meant to kind of give you a little bit of that spice because it's a rye-based bourbon, but it's a little bit more delicate because it's got a little bit more of the, what I would call sweet sugars or lighter florally sugars. I don't have the best palate in the world, so I'm pretty generic in the way that I say this tastes like X. So for me, first from a smell perspective, it's not super high proof, so you don't get a lot of that kick from the ethanol. It's actually, you know, so if you look at small batch itself, this is watered down, it's proof down to 90%. Their cask strengths can range anywhere from 104 to 100 and I think 15 or something like that. So, you know, there's definitely a little bit of a blend of water to kind of proof it down, but it kind of opens it up some as well. And so I always like to take a couple just little smells to see if I can get some of the, you know, on the nose of some sugars and some of the other, you know, maybe spices that you get from it. So at first, I always leave a little bit in kind of my tongue, maybe swish it around a little bit, kind of coat your cheeks. That alcohol will kind of burn some of your senses off. And what you're going to find is you get a little bit of this initial hug that they call it the Kentucky hug, or the burn right in your chest. If you get that, breathe slightly out. You know, just nothing big, but just breathe slightly out and go ahead and take another smell. And then from there, take another drink. that second drink really is what you should be considering the flavor profiles that you're going to get. You're going to get more of the, and again, every bourbon's going to be slightly different. You're going to get some cherries, you're going to get some oranges, maybe some peaches or some pears. They always have that kind of sugar profile that's going to be sometimes heavier sugars, so darker sugars, brown sugars, caramels, or lighter sugars, even light brown sugar, or maybe, just more of a lighter feel to it. And then a lot of times you'll get some cinnamon or some baking spices, just depending. Again, you're going to get wheated bourbons versus rye bourbons as you get into bourbons, and we'll talk more about each of those. But, the goal is to take a couple drinks, get a good feel for what you like about that one, and then move on to the next one. And again, same thing. You don't have to pour the whole bottle in there, but it doesn't hurt to do it either. So it's just up to you. You'll notice from one brand to another, you're going to get different smells and different profiles. So that will help you kind of start to go, oh, if there's another Wild Turkey in the mix or whatever, another Smoke Wagon later down the road, maybe you'll start to go, oh, I like that. I've gone to Buffalo Trace Distillery a couple times, and the smell alone can help me distinguish maybe it's a Buffalo Trace product blindly. I think there's some differences between these brands specifically. There's mash bill differences or different profiles, but ultimately I think what you get from each of these bottles is definitely different. All of them are really good. I would tell you, for me personally, I'm a big fan of trying to have a good group of bottles that you can drink as old fashions, or just for anybody that comes by, and these three are definitely ones to get there. If you live in Arkansas, you can get Smoke Wagon all day long. Texas, hit and miss a little bit from what I hear. Oklahoma, it's not distributed, so this one's a little bit tougher. I put it in here though for a reason, because one, I think it's coming to Oklahoma soon. They're growing their distribution. Two, we're really not far from Arkansas if you live in Oklahoma. And so if you're ever in Arkansas for whatever, beautiful, beautiful place up in Northwest Arkansas. So if you're up there traveling or whatever, and you see one of these bottles in there, stop and grab one if you really like it, And so Russell's 10-year, again, every state's slightly different. So, you're going to find different things. And so I'm based in Oklahoma, and so I'm going to find things that are more consistent for me. However, I travel for work, and so I'm going to be in Arkansas or Texas some. And so I'm finding bottles in all states. But wow, each one of these is just way different on the nose. More spice, more light fruit, more dark fruit. That's just kind of the way I get it from the nose perspective. This has less of a, by the way, all these are proof down. These are all 90, I think they're all 90, right? No, 92.5. And then Russell's is another 90%. So these are all roughly around 90%. So these get proof down. If you follow the One OK Whiskey YouTube channel, one of the things you'll see is I'll start posting some of these that will talk about proofing, chill filtering, some of the other things. And then each distillery goes different into the barrel, so the proofing is definitely different. So barrel strengths, cask strengths are different as well. And so that matters for what proofing is required to get it done. But yeah, it's awesome. Ooh, that's good. The water, just for what it's worth on the water side, maybe you take a nice little round, get a good just drink out of there, and put a little water in there, let it sit, open up. If you have a dropper will help. Just put 2 or 3 drops of water in there. It's similar to putting an ice cube in there, but when you put an ice cube in there, especially when we talk about chill filtered, non-chill filtered, you're going to get different results. And so your mileage may vary. But so I went through all of these. I put a drop of water in there, a couple drops of water in there. And now I'm going to go back through. So my palate already is kind of hit. I've got a lot of that, what I would call initial Kentucky hug out, the burn on your chest. I've coated my palate, so now I'm getting a little bit more of the flavor profiles. And now I probably want to make another round. This is typically if I'm trying to make personal notes and recommendations for myself on, hey, I really like this, here's what I'm getting from it. this is the point where I would start writing notes down and say, okay, bottle X, I'm getting much more cherry. I'm getting maybe some banana. I'm getting maybe some rye baking spices. But that's where I would start writing it down, because now I'm going to get more of those flavors. And so if I'm voting on these, I'm not looking necessarily for what's the easiest to drink, because the easiest to drink to me personally may not be my favorite. It may be your favorite though. And so you pick what you would want. I'm going to find one, and I'm going to typically find ones that I like that have maybe more complexity to them. They don't just stop right away after you're done drinking them. Like, you start to get some of that flavor profile even after the finish, right? I'm looking for some of those things. I really kind of like the flavor profiles and what whiskey does when it's inside the barrel. So, honestly, this is probably, if I go through the different groups, this may be the hardest one for me to pick from, because I like all of these really well. These are not the most expensive bottles either. I would pick these, if I was doing blinds, I'd probably pick these over a good portion of the other ones, which is what's kind of fun about doing this tournament style. Put them together. And so, yeah, you may really like this Four Roses, and you may not like any of the high proofs, and you would like this more than others, but it gives you the opportunity to drink some of those other ones and see what's out there. And so that's really kind of what I hope for. I hope everybody has a great time doing it. I'm always happy to sit down and chat about it. I think, for those of you that know me, maybe I chat too much. I probably already chatted too much tonight. But again, thanks for participating. Continue to look out for these short videos. They'll probably be shorter than this one in the future. Cheers.